Ooby-doo, it's everyone's favorite boomer and vintage lens enthusiast, and today we're going to revisit for the last time the Nikon AF-S Nikkor 18 to 300 millimeter at 3.5 to 6.3 GED VR DX. What that means is it has vibration reduction. It's a crop frame sensor only. ED is magic glass. G means that it doesn't have a aperture ring, but that's modern lens. You got to expect that. I was disappointed with this lens. I went to the park. I took some pictures. It is very spotty. I got some excellent results, and I got some pretty crappy results. And I was sorry I sort of bought it. So I said, well, I'll give it one more chance. Since I went to the park, what I'll do is I'll go to a city, Motown East, otherwise known as Morristown. And I took it there early in the morning. And, well, I want to use slow shutter speeds to see if the VR works, right? And use it wide open to see if it's any good. Because, you know, if a lens is 3.5 or 6.3, how good is it? Well, we're going to find out. But to spice things up, I bought the EOS Rebel SL2, which has the Tamron. Where does it say? Oh, the Tamron 18 to 20 millimeter of 3.5 to 6.3. And it has VC, which is vibration control, and autofocus. And I said, well, let's try this and compare it to that. Now you may notice this lens isn't on a camera. I was using the Z50, right? But I don't have it on the Z50. I have the Zoom Nikkor 28 to 50, 3.5. And I would recommend this vintage lens over this modern lens. That's how crappy this thing is. Now the Tamron. You could get those at the stores in the city. You know who they are. And they're always on sale. They're $245 and it's $45 off, so you get it for $200. And they come in different mounts. You can get them, I think, in the Canon mount, Pentax mount. I think they come in a Nikon mount. I got this is on a Canon, so I know they come in a Canon mount. But let's look at this real quickly. Look at that, a crappy plastic lens mount. What do you want for $200, right? What do you want for $200? There we go. This has a metal mount. Oh, wow, that's so cool. Of course, the rest is plastic, like everything else these days. It's a little bit wider. It's about the same length. Let's zoom it. How's that? Look at that bad boy, huh? Now let's do this one. This is only a little bit shorter. I'm at the same size. Even though it goes to 300 millimeters, it only goes to 200. Well, guess what? I bought this used like for $225 or something like that. They said it was in excellent condition. I think it was just in very good condition. It's slightly scruffy. The Tamron has a strange vibration control where you press the shutter button halfway, it does the autofocus, but then you see the image go blink. And that means that the vibration control is activated and you can take a picture. If you take a picture without seeing the image go boink, then you're going to get even worse blurry results. And that happened to me once or twice, right? I did a photo shoot with these things and this thing, 1600, same lighting conditions, and this thing beat the pants off of this thing as far as I'm concerned. Well, I got one total failure, and I got maybe 5 other out of focus or vibration control failure. Whereas this thing, maybe I got like 20 pictures that came out bad. In fact, since I knew what I was doing based on going to the park, I was taking like 3 or 4 pictures in a row, and none of them were coming out. And so I just had to give up. They were either focus failure or they were VC failure. Now, I read up a lot on this lens now that I got it. It says it has a known problem where between, get a load of this, 1/125th of a second and 40th of a second, the VC has trouble operating. Do you believe that? Do you believe that? I read it on a couple different sites where they did tests when it came out and it was new. There's two types, you know. This is at 300 millimeters at 6.3, but there's one at 300 millimeter that's 5.6, so it has to be even fatter. And they both have the same mechanics and optical formulation. So whether you get one or the other, I think it's just a problem they have. And I've seen this problem, and I mentioned it in my other video. You know, 1/80th of a second, 1/125th of a second, 1/40th of a second. I was getting pretty haphazard results with the VR. I thought the VR wasn't even working. But then the next picture I take, it comes out perfect. So I went to the city, and what do you know, I'm seeing the same problems all over again, where oh, here's another thing. This is a modern G lens, and if you look at this lens, it has a couple of notches, has 4 mounting screws, and it has all these electrical contacts, right? That means that this lens, it has a silent wave motor, which means it doesn't need a mechanical coupling. Older G lenses and a lot of D lenses, well, definitely older D lenses. I don't know if all G lenses are. I think they're all like this, I'm pretty sure. All G lenses have electronic contacts. Some D lenses have electronic contacts, and they don't need a mechanical coupling. If you look at older D lenses, they have somewhere here on this mounting flange, they have what looks like a flathead, a slotted screw recessed into the mount. But what it is, when you put this on the camera, it aligns with sort of like a screwdriver bit that pops out and engages this slotted screw, and then there's a motor in the camera that turns the autofocus back and forth. This one doesn't have that. It's the more modern type, right? It's slow. It hunted a lot. I moved the parameters around to see it was better. Not really. Of course, I'm using the FTZ adapter on the Z50, and maybe that had something to do with it. But I have a wide-angle lens. I have an 18-35 D lens, and that works fine on this. Of course, that has the slotted screw, so it doesn't autofocus, but it has the contacts. So that means it tells the camera what focusing it's at, and then you can get a focus confirmation in the viewfinder. Plus, when you stick it, the D lenses have a aperture ring, but if you stick it on the Orange 22, it goes in the automatic aperture mode, and then you could just dial in with the camera, so that's great. So, but you gotta be aware of that. Some D lenses have the slotted screw, and then it's manual, and some have all the contacts and they're more automatic. There are some D lenses that will autofocus with this, believe it or not. But that's another issue. So what is the bottom dollar? I don't like this lens. In fact, I hate it, so it's not even on the Z50. I put this old vintage zoom Nikkor on it, which is like 10 times better at least. This that I bought new for 200 bucks outperformed it on a Canon, without a doubt. No doubt about it. So what this means is don't buy this lens. Let's go through the paces again. Nikon DX AF-S Nikkor 18-300 millimeter 3.5 to 6.3 GED, made in China. Here's some other stuff. SWM silent wave motor, aspherical. It's supposed to focus down 1.6 feet, even at 300 millimeters, and it does. It's garbage. It's not worth its money. I got it cheap, $250, something like that. I'm sorry I bought it. You know, I have another Nikkor lens that I hated, but then, you know, you can't beat this. The zoom Nikkor, this is the golden age of photography. You know, you could get this for 100 bucks, get this for 100 bucks instead of that. You'll enjoy photography better. You definitely, without a doubt. This thing, it's not worth it. You know what there are? I think they go for like $1,000 new, and I've seen them used and in better condition like Excellent Plus and like New for like 500, 600, $700. Forget about it. You know, I thought I got a defective version, but I was on one website where they review gear, and they said they had 4 samples and they farmed it out to different photographers, and they all came back with the same complaints: that the VR was spotty, the autofocus hunted, and it was slow, and it's soft at the 18 millimeter position and it's soft at the 300 millimeter position. You have to stop it down to like 8, 11, 16, or 22 in order to get reasonable results out of it. So I cannot recommend this lens at all. In fact, it's going to go here with this Sigma. This is a Sigma compact hyper zoom, 28 to 200, 3.5 to 5.6. Well, this is a piece of crap. You can forget about most Sigma lenses. I respect Tamron. Tamron makes good, cheap stuff. Oh, this is made in Vietnam. So how about that? Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with anything. But let's jump into the photos. And what I did was I took a lot of similar photos, so I paired them. The one from the Nikon would say NN, and then we have some EXIF data, right? And then if I have a similar photo, one will say CT, which stands for Canon Tamron, and I'll have some EXIF data that you could look at. And then you could compare, you know, onesies and twosies to apples and oranges, or apples to applesauce, or whatever you ever want to compare it to. But I did take some pictures that, you know, I didn't feel like switching all the time. I had one in a gadget bag, so I took some pictures of the same subject, but then I took a lot of pictures exclusively with this and exclusively with this. So, and then you could see yourself. Now, the really bad pictures, I didn't put the really bad pictures in. I had, like I said, 20 bad pictures with this thing. Psh, forget about it. If you just went out and spent $1,000 on that, oh man, I'd be pissed, without a doubt. And you know what? I read reviews where they flamed this $200 lens, but actually it's pretty good. It's actually pretty good. I would get this over that. It's like this used, I would buy that new. And of course, 28 to 50 millimeter is a nice walking around lens on a crop sensor. And this takes excellent photos, excellent photos. You could get away wide open, and 1 or 2 stops down, it's never get any better at all. Of course, if you need depth of field, you can always stop down and get more depth of field, but it introduces diffraction effects. So be that as it may, let's go look at some photos. And, well, I'm sorry to have to give you the bad news, but that's just the way it turned out. You know, if Nikon doesn't like it, well, too bad. I say good things about Nikon when I should, and I gotta tell you the truth when something's not as great as what people think it is. And this is not a great lens at all. Not at all. Let's look at some photos. You decide. Canon Tamron. It has a CT in the upper right-hand corner. This is the Nikon Nikkor. It looks like it has a little bit better contrast. Here's the Canon Tamron. Went forward to the second. Notice I was shooting everything at 1600 ISO. This is the Nikon Nikkor. Looks like it has a little bit better contrast. I seldom adjusted the contrast or the levels or the colors on any of these. This is the Canon Tamron, 18 millimeter. Nikon Nikkor, 30 millimeter. This is the Canon Tamron. It had definitely a cooler look to it than the Nikon. Had a warmer look. I have the automatic white balance on both of them. This is the Nikon Nikkor. This is the Canon Tamron. Now watch what happens when we switch over to the Nikon. Definitely warmer, definitely absolutely warmer. Sometimes the Nikon hits it right on the money, and sometimes it doesn't. Here's the Canon Tamron. Here's the Nikon Nikkor. It was just, sometimes it hit it, sometimes it wouldn't. And when it hit it, it was pretty good. Here's the Canon Tamron. This is a street scene, and I had to take one camera out, put the other one in a gadget bag, and by the time I did that, like all sorts of activity happened. But hey, what can you do? Canon Tamron, the three terrorists. Nikon Nikkor definitely has a warmer look to it. Absolutely. Somebody puts these scarves on these statues with notes saying, if you need a hat or a scarf, take it. This is Bella Oxmix and his dog Peaches, Canon Tamron, although it's really the seeing eye guy, seeing eye dog guy. And here's the Nikon Nikkor. Canon Tamron. I adjusted the levels a little bit on these and color balance to bring out the clouds somewhat. And I did the same thing on the Nikon. The Salvation Army. This is the Canon Tamron. You know, it's got a lot of details, so I figure I use this as a reference photo with all my lenses. And the Salvation Army with the Nikon Nikkor. These are all going to be this Nikon shots, and there's going to be some Canon shots, Canon Tamron shots after this. And you may notice if you look closely at these that they're not in focus. Here, the stupid autofocus picked that building and not the lights. And here you can see there's a lot of softness in this series of pictures here. Although this one came out pretty good for some reason. I like that picture. This picture is actually critically sharp, this wreath. This is another view of this store. And that came out good. This one came out good. Some of them come out good, some of them don't come out good. I had a whole bunch of them come out bad with the Nikon Nikkor, and I didn't throw these in. This is soft. Only his tail is sharp. The rest of them was soft. But that was like, I couldn't believe that picture came out. This is good old GW, George Washington. He looked like a pirate there. Some of these pictures, I noticed that when you're taking pictures of flat subjects, then the lens excels at that. If you have like three-dimensional or you got depth, well, it doesn't do too good. So here's a perfect example. The traffic light came out sharp in the background too. You have to be further away from your subjects, it seems like. I adjusted the levels on this pretty severely. I like reflections of the windows in these buildings. I took a lot of like Christmas type photos. Chef Freddy, or is it Chef Freddy? I'll have to go in and ask him. So you can see nothing is really sharp here. But this came out really sharp. Of course, it's one-dimensional. Here's another, like depth to it. It's compressed, but nothing was really sharp. This is a wall, but it came out sharp. Well, 18 millimeter, but oh, this picture got nailed exactly. Look at that. That is nice. When I took the same picture with the Tamron, it freaked out. Same thing with this one. This one is just a little bit blurry if you look really close. I don't know if it's the autofocus or the VR. But with the Tamron, I took the picture too quick. It didn't get a chance to lock in, and it came out horribly. And in these pictures, after I stopped down the F11, 16, and 22, these all came out nice. And then, of course, I was using fast shutter speed, too. But, you know, so the VR, I don't know about the VR on this lens. And it's a common issue that I've read a lot on the internet. Look at this. This is a B close-up. That's really nice. I sort of like this picture. F7.1. I adjusted the contrast on this picture. This picture surprised me, F10. Now we're in the Canon Tamron exclusively, and we get to see that. Now, the SL2 came out in 2017. It's a 24 megapixel camera. What they did is they took the T5i guts and they stuck it in some cheap chassis, and then they sold it for like 500 bucks. That was the list price. Whereas the Z50, I think when the Z50 new was like 800 bucks or something. I bought mine used for $600. And well, it's a newer camera. It seems to have, in some respects it's better, in some respects it's not. The SL2 holds its own. And out of all the pictures I took with the Tamron, I only had at the most 5 that failed autofocus or the VC, the vibration control. So in that respect, the Tamron, much cheaper lens, had better results. So there you go. Stay away from that Nikon.